right. So yeah, we just see what we can get through.
Yep. And see where it goes. And if we don't make it, we don't make it. That's the joy of the new format. So, sorry. You don't get to hear our thoughts. Sorry.
No, the problem is they won't hear our thoughts because we've wasted them talking about like canned food or something.
You know, there is a new pink apple and lemon polar that's really good.
Oh, I think I saw that in the store.
Yeah, we've converted to 100% pink apple and lemons in this house.
Have you tried all their summer special flavors?
No.
Oh my God. So they have a dragon fruit lemonade. That's great. There's like a guava mule, I think.
No, that doesn't sound good.
There's some sort of like summer iced tea, which is interesting. It's just not what I would, because it's like seltzer. So how do you make it taste like iced tea? That's kind of, yeah, there's a lot of good polar out there.
Have we started?
I decided I'm starting it.
We're starting. No, we're wasting time. No, shh. No. Or alternately, is this finally Pajiba's Seltzer Hour? All water all the time.
Welcome to Pajiba, the Pajiba Television Podcast. I'm Pajiba comedy editor Dan Hamamura. With me, as always, our Pajiba managing editor Tori Preston.
Hello, Dan.
Hello, Tori. And back from his hiatus, James Corden's Bluebird, Dustin Rolls.
Hello, Tori.
Hi, Dustin.
I appreciated last week's episode.
You finally listened to it.
I did listen to it because I wasn't on it. And so it was a lot more fun to listen to. James Corden's Bluebird?
Yes.
Is a reference to the Harry Styles video that he made with James Corden, which is charming as hell. And I don't like James Corden or Harry Styles.
Wait,
well,
you
I
don't
guess
like
I got
Harry?
nothing against. I mean, I got nothing against him. I don't really know him, but that was a really good video. He seems, having seen that, I kind of like him now.
Corden or Styles?
Styles, never Corden. But Styles was he in that movie, right? No, with both of the Game of Thrones guys?
Yeah.
Yeah, he showed up in the end, setting up a sequel that will never happen.
No, he'll just show up in like Guardians of the Galaxy or something.
Yeah, that's fine. And that's how it should be, because he was maybe the only good part of that movie.
Okay, that's not fair.
It was a really bad movie.
It wasn't, though. It
was a terrible movie.
It was fine. It was just a little different.
Well, I don't mind different. That was bad. Anyway.
Not a movie podcast, Dustin, let me remind you. But what we do cover is television. All of it. Dustin's going to talk about all of it in his now famous segment, Dustin Explains Television.
Is it famous?
Presents Dustin's 5 minutes of I forget what we call
I see. You guys struggled last week without having me to the immediacy of me to make fun of. I mean, you had some material.
Oh, we could.
But then you ran out.
No, we could have made fun of you. It felt bad.
Well,
but then you were.
I didn't feel.
I was listening. No.
Well, no.
But then you reverted to the format, but then you didn't have the guy to throw insults at because you're too nice to each other.
Well, no, but here's the thing: you call it reverting to the format. I would say that it's just we had a lovely conversation about something that we share mutual interest in.
I still feel like you need a foil to be successful.
So you're admitting that you're the villain.
The foil.
I mean, we'll see by the end. We'll see.
Basically the same thing. We're already burning time because I started the clock with no one, unbeknownst to everyone
Why would
else.
you call it burning time?
What?
We're enjoying ourselves. We're providing countless seconds of entertainment.
Some people really want to get to Dustin's. We have Dustin's whole hour, in which this week Dustin will talk about all of the holes in television.
We may be workshopping a theme song. We'll get back to you on that.
But before that, what's everyone drinking? Dustin, what are you drinking since you're
I'm
recently
drinking house wine, a can of house wine, raspberry lemon. It's really good.
Except you're
I think I
drinking
had
it.
this once.
You're drinking it out of a wine glass.
Well, yeah, it's wine.
But it's canned wine. The whole point is that you
Yeah.
drink it out of the can.
Why? You still pour beer into the. Remember the wine glass? You told me all about it.
Okay, that was for beer. Canned wine, the beauty of canned wine is that it's wine in a can. You can drink it on the go.
Oh, I don't know. I still like it there. I looked at. I went to Target this week, and I almost got a different. I was gonna get the what is it called? Black Girl Magic, and it was like $30 for a bottle of wine. I'm like, no way.
Oh.
So yeah, Target.
Gotta
Expensive
go back
wines.
Gotta go back to TJ's.
Yeah, yeah.
Tori, what are you drinking from a can?
I have a big can of Heady Topper.
Heady Topper's the best.
Yeah, so I'm already like halfway through the can, and one of these usually knocks me on my ass. So we'll see how the rest of the show goes. I may have to go get it. No, I think there is another can in there that I will not open, but I do have other beers. We had guests in town, so my fridge is currently full of beer.
And you got the Heady Topper
And
for
so
the fancy beer for the
I was like, I should have some Heady Topper. It's it's a special occasion. Dustin's back.
Yeah.
I was only gone 1 week.
Well,
3 years. I leave for 1 week.
It's the first time you've missed a show, I think.
yeah.
You know what I was doing that whole show? I was catching up on Stranger Things, I admit.
And what'd you think?
I loved it.
Right?
Yes, it was really fun.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's because of the villain. They finally have a good villain.
They had a great villain. Yes. And the Freddy Krueger stuff, and I loved it all.
Yeah. It was a lot of fun. I mean, shame about the episodes being like absurdly long, but
And it didn't feel as long as it was most of the time. I think the Hopper stuff kind of dragged, but
yeah. And
did
all
not feel as long as it is because you watched it at like 1.7.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah, you did. Okay, so you did watch it fast. I would also argue all the stuff with Jonathan and Mike and Will. Like anytime they cut back to them, but Elle was gone, I was like, I don't care.
Oh, Will's the guy with the haircut.
Yeah.
Yeah. It took me like half an episode to realize that was the same guy as before. It's like, wait, who the fuck is that guy?
Yeah, he's the one who kind of has my haircut.
Yeah.
Only all the way around.
It's much more flattering on you.
Why, thank you. It's because I only cut the bangs, not the rest of it.
Fair.
Is that one of the shows that is all of the shows that you were going to talk about?
No, I didn't put it on the list because
we talked about it last week.
Was it? Yeah.
Oh, and by the way, Dan, I am still salty about you pointing out that that's my Walking Dead. That felt like an attack, and I've been processing it. And like I understand what you're saying, but it still hurts.
But it got better, so maybe the analogy no longer fits.
Well, I don't know. Maybe it just makes it my Fear the Walking Dead because I've been reading Dustin's comment, his recaps, and Jesus Christ.
You guys talked about that and Obi-Wan, which I didn't care.
Last week's episode was terrible. We're not going to talk about it, but it was.
No.
I know, but other people said it was like a better episode.
Those people don't understand how things. Well, because like, I mean, I guess it's fine because things happen and there was like a big showdown, but like, the mechanics of tunnels or like geography or like a guy who can extinguish flames on command, immediately not extinguishing flames on command. Like, none of it really made sense.
Or like how gates work.
Gates, right? All of it.
Apparently.
Like, just very basic things. It was like, this doesn't matter. I will say, though, they introduced Indira Varma and they didn't kill her off immediately. So I'm kind of like, if they just keep not killing her off for the rest of the season, it'll be better than almost every other show she's been on.
That was nice.
Yeah.
I turned it on and I watched the previously on segment. I was like, oh, I just can't. I do not care. I don't care at all about any of these people. This is not going to work for me. It felt really good to like say no to something because I rarely say no to anything.
That's true. You don't.
But I am finding that the Star Wars series are easier to say no. And like halfway through the Marvel Oscar Isaac one is like, oh,
yeah,
fine. You know, some things just aren't for me.
To be fair, it is tough when the bar is Pajaba's best show of 2019 and 2020, The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
So.
And 2021 somehow.
Yeah.
But
Weird.
genuinely, Mandalorian was so much better
Yeah.
than those shows. Yeah. And Mandalorian was not very good.
Well,
I mean, you said something really smart and then said something really dumb, which somehow cancels out.
you know what it is, Dan? It's almost like he likes digging himself into holes.
Oh, there you go. All right. Well, we might as well move on to Dustin's. What are some Dustin's whole hour? Dustin's.
Dustin Explains Everything presents
The whole hour.
Oh.
Dustin Explains Television presents. Dustin shows us his whole.
Well, no. Okay, so wait, I was working. So what was that, like watching holes with Dustin rolls? If your show has a hole, Dustin knows. I'm not okay. Like that's not permanent, but like I said, I'm kind of like workshopping it.
Yeah. Get Juan to put some guitar to it.
Oh no, I'm hoping I gotta talk to him, but one of these weeks I'm hoping I can get him to come on and just do it live. So it'll be like a guest appearance.
That would be amazing.
So Dan and I were talking, and we have can I go with this, Dan? Is our plan okay?
Are you gonna mess up the format?
No, we're not. We're okay, because here's the thing. We assigned you homework last week, which was that you had to watch all of Night Sky and explain all of it to us.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But then you also included this whole list of all of the other shows that you watched.
Well, that's the whole thing.
Well, that's the whole thing. The whole thing. So, so what we decided is that like you still only have 5 minutes. So you need to decide.
Do I have to get Night Sky into that 5 minutes?
Yes. So we're going to split it up. You tell us how much time you think you need to explain all of Night Sky. And so if you say you need 2 minutes for it, 3 minutes for it, whatever, that's fine. You get that. We'll run the timer. And then you will have the remainder of the 5 minutes to explain all of the shows that we lob at you. Yes.
Okay.
So
2 minutes. 2 minutes for Night Sky.
All right. So let me cue that up
All right,
first.
so Tori's going to get that timer going.
All right. 2 minutes. You ready?
Yes.
Go.
Okay. Night Sky. In the pantheon of whole shows, it is better than La Brea, not as good as Outer Range. Sissy Spacek, J.K. Simmons, they find a hole in their yard after their son dies. This particular hole takes them to a place in outer space. There's a big mystery around it. It turns out there's holes like this all over the country, all over the world, and these people are charged with protecting the secret. And those people will kill anyone that finds out about it. So Simmons and Spacek and another guy who travels through the hole are in danger. So that's the mystery. And then it's actually pretty good, but at the very end, it leads toward the second season. It suggests it's going to be a lot more sci-fi oriented, which I'm not as excited about, just because I like the sort of grounded nature of the first season, set in this sort of small town. And that is Night Sky.
Okay. Well, you did it.
I did it in under 2 minutes, didn't I?
I don't know what to do now.
Where you go on?
We can give him the rest of the time. He can bank it for other shows.
Well, no, I'm all right.
That's
so
right.
You did it in just a little over a minute, so I'm going to count it as 1 minute, and we'll give you 4 minutes for the rest of the shows.
All right, let's do it.
Start.
All right. And we're calling him out, right, Tori?
You're calling. Yeah, go for it.
All right. We Own the City.
Oh, we're going to cover this later. We can't do that right now.
No,
Okay. It was so brutal that the real estate prices in Baltimore dropped 20%.
Wait, really?
I don't know.
Oh, well, fuck that. Okay, physical.
Better than last season because Rose Byrne is not like is completely subjugated by her husband. Now the roles are sort of reversed, and there's a really fun twist at the end of the first episode.
The Staircase.
Oh God, it's still going. It is 8 episodes long, and it really should have been 6 episodes long. I mean, it's really good and it's really well performed, but Jesus, it's too long.
Girls 5 Eva.
I love the show. We never talk about how good Sarah Bareilles is as a comedic actress, nor the fact that Renee Ellis Goldsberry is like basically Jenna Marone of the show. Yeah.
Top Chef.
I figured you might want to talk about this, Dan, because like, you can't talk here, but I didn't really love the winner this season. The guy that I wanted to win fell out at 4.
How dare you? How dare you, Dustin? We'll get into this.
Okay, fine.
Fear the Walking Dead.
Fear the Walking Dead. It was the season finale, and it was setting up next season, and it actually wasn't completely horrible because they brought back the dead character from 4 seasons ago, and they set up this whole baby snatching storyline that was kind of interesting, but they'll completely ruin it next season.
Time Traveler's Wife.
Once you sort of put aside that it's not a great series, you can sort of enjoy it for what it is. Although I do feel like it's more of an HBO Max show than an HBO show.
Bill Burr presents Friends Who Kill.
Bill Burr is the best part of that, which says about all you need to know. Michelle Wolf is pretty good, but then after that, it's just downhill. Like Jimmy Carr is the third guy, and he's terrible, and it just gets worse from there.
Under the Banner of Heaven.
Fucking fantastic show. Fantastic finale. Maybe my favorite show of at least this quarter. Just absolutely fantastic, and really good True Detective, but like really makes you think about like that whole religion.
Shining Girls.
They did a really good job with the finale, but it should have been 2 episodes shorter. I didn't love the book, and I didn't really love the series, but they did a good job at the end.
I love that for you.
Oh, here they actually, how she's got the lie that she's got cancer. I see now how they're going to get out of it, because everybody else has a lie almost as big. So at the end, I guess everybody's going to come out with their big lie, and that'll sort of like save her, I guess, from her cancer lie.
Tehran.
I watched all of the second season this week. I watched all of the first season before. The second season is not as good as the first season, but it's still pretty good.
Taskmaster.
There's this task this week where everybody has to lick. They have to keep their tongue out of their mouth as long as they can while licking a popsicle and sugar and putting it against a fan. And at a certain point, all of them just drool, just like spit is just falling out of their mouth. And it's so disgusting, but because they're comedians, and it's hilarious. And like one woman makes it half an hour with her tongue out.
That's it.
What's that? I feel pretty good about that one.
I think you landed on just the perfect mental image.
The spittle?
Yes.
Dustin, that was 14 shows in your 5 minutes, so not bad.
That's pretty good. I think I only had 17 shows.
Yeah, the only ones we skipped actually were shows that we wanted to talk about anyway, which were Taxberry and The Boys. But before we get to that, I want to spend a minute on Top Chef. Dustin, first of all,
you like Buddha.
Racism.
No, this is not. This is not racism.
You're racist against Australians, clearly.
Okay, to be fair, plenty of people are racist against Australians.
Yeah,
no.
But Buddha's Asian, so
But
his dad died right before he got
on
the show.
I know. And that made his whole ending kind of like, you're like, I feel bad that I didn't root for him this whole time, but also I still don't like him that much.
I understand it so this was just from my perspective, this Top Chef season was one that I was I wasn't. I mean, I think part of it was last season. I was so into like some of the characters or some of the people from the beginning, and particularly Shota, who made it to the final and ultimately didn't win. But so I had like someone I was rooting for the entire time. And this season,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't grab anybody at the beginning, in the way that like last season, like especially Shota and Sarah, I was like rooting for the whole time. But so this season it was a little bit muddied, and one thing that kind of in retrospect um, became clear was, for whatever reason, this season it felt like the first half, like everyone that was being cut were like, by the standards of the show, not very good. I mean, I'm sure they're super talented chefs, but
Right.
like
Yeah.
they were making the kind of mistakes that like you would see in like I feel like we haven't seen those kinds of errors send people home for like several seasons, because
Mm-hmm.
they're all supposed to be super talented at this point, which I mean they are. Like it
Correct.
constantly gets tougher and tougher. So it was a little surprising to see that. And then versus like now, once you got kind of past Restaurant Wars, then it was like, oh, now we're at the core of people who are all super talented, and like any of them could, like at that, once it got down to like, especially like Damar, like the final
Right.
four, like it felt like any of them could win, and it was just who's going to make a mistake at that point.
And Damar, who is the person I clung to early on, him and
Yeah.
Jackson. And
Yeah.
Jackson, I think, was at least helpful in Buddha winning, because Jackson is like a really good chef.
Well, the amazing thing was that Jackson was able to get as far as he did without having a sense of taste,
Yes.
because he had COVID right before, and didn't tell anybody that he couldn't taste stuff. So he would have people be like, "Hey, taste this. Does this taste like it has enough salt?" And they'd be like, "Oh yeah."
And he made it. He made it until Restaurant Wars, and he didn't get kicked out because of his cooking. He got kicked out because he was like a bad host.
Right. But you know, I mean, I think yeah, that's true. But the sous chef always is a part of it for sure. But
Yeah,
I
but
think
the other two picked terrible sous chefs.
I think Evelyn picking Joe was right for her. I don't
Yeah.
think, and I mean, it was clearly super close between Evelyn and Buddha. Like I think,
Yeah. Sarah wasn't even a
yeah.
thing.
But I was also actually as much as I like to give you shit, I was rooting for Damar. He was kind of like the person I had also picked up on, kind of like in the second half.
Mhm.
But when he went home, he deserved to go home. Like it wasn't like
You did, yeah. I agree.
it wasn't like it felt like an injustice that he lost.
No, and I also agree that Buddha was like the best in the end, but also not as likable as Evelyn.
Evelyn was definitely the most likable. Buddha was
I know
definitely like Buddha felt like he dominated early and dominated late, and then kind of in the
Yep.
middle, he kind of just. I mean, not that he was only at the bottom maybe once or twice, but like he was mostly just kind of floating in the middle, and then turned it on at the end. But like he'd even talked about how like the thing that's interesting to me about Buddha is that this is the first time I can remember someone getting an edit where they talk about how they were a super fan of the show. I mean, as much as he did.
Mm-hmm.
Where, because he talked about how like it was a dream to go on Top Chef.
And that's right,
like,
and
he had studied it, and there are even snippets where like when they're in the house where he's or in his like confessionals where he's talking about like, oh, I have a couple things saved for the finale, where he's like planning that like there are certain techniques or certain things that he's saving for, assuming he got to the end, which he did.
Right, and then he made that dish that like the other judge made famous or something.
Yeah. And
I don't know
like,
who that person
like
is.
one of the it was interesting that one of the critiques of him was like he's showing off.
Yeah.
Like they're like, you're just showing off your technique, and that's too fancy.
Yeah.
But
that just reminds me quickly that because I wasn't here last week, we missed Survivor and Marianne winning, and she is maybe not the best player at all, but like the most likable Survivor winner in a long time. She's just amazing, just like an amazing person who is not a very good player.
I was happy that she won based on this season. I still think that like I thought that the person playing the best game was Drea. until she
Yes,
got, but
yes.
she ran out of her big mistake was she trusted Omar at the wrong time, and she
Right.
kind of ran out of allies. Like, I don't, even if she hadn't been cut when she was, I don't think she had enough allies to ultimately make it to the end. But she was kind of like the most interesting mix of like sneaky but likable, but also like good at the game and like good at physical
Right.
stuff. Like, she was kind of like well rounded in a way that I really liked. But
then Omar was like a brilliant secret villain.
Right.
Who I loved because nobody knew he was the villain until the end.
Except that he got, then Drea blew him.
Yeah, he got caught. Yeah. Damn it, Drea.
There was
and then Yoga Lindsay I liked a lot too. She probably should have won, but they just always eliminate the better people.
Right.
Which is why you end up with
she was definitely like, just in terms of like, it was just either her or Jonathan. And Jonathan could never win. Tori is yawning as we talk about reality.
No, I'm not kidding. It's the Heady Topper. It's a really high alcohol beer.
Sure. Yeah.
Anyway, I was glad that Marianne won. I didn't think it was kind of I didn't like this season as much as last season.
No, but I did. I liked how good that a player that is good physically as Jonathan made it that far, but he only made it that far because he was a bad person. But he was dominant. He was kind of a bad guy. I mean, he was really shitty to the women. He was really shitty to the women. But then Marianne pulling out the idol and the tribal council won it. That was really brilliant and a nice little bit of drama.
Yeah. All right. Anyway,
we can move on now. Sorry.
Yeah. Sorry. That's all the Top Chef ranting I wanted to say. Is that Dustin? Hashtag Dustin doesn't like Asians.
Come on.
I just like how it's all about the likability of the chef, and it's like, because that's all you can judge, because you're not there to taste the food, and that's what kills me about Top Chef. I just want to eat the food.
Mm-hmm.
But you have to take the judges at their word that
that the food is good. So then your audience, so the audience is on the side of whoever's likable, and like, I don't give a shit if my chef is likable. I want the food to be good.
Well, I think but anyway, it's an unfixable problem.
I know. I will forever be bitter.
You know what show did not make me forever bitter is Hacks.
Hacks.
What a finale.
What a finale.
It was a good finale. Can I ask, am I the only person that likes Ava more than Deborah?
Well, so would you have said that in season 1?
Not as much, but I do like Ava a lot. And I think a lot of people didn't like her in the first season.
Yeah. I think the second season, like, one thing I thought was that, like, I didn't like her so much in the first season, and then she really, like, her arc or whatever work they did, kind of like, she became much more sympathetic in season 2. And so now I think I like them equal. Whereas, and I think it's not even that she was a bad character. Like, I think she was an interesting character in season 1. She was just a very irritating character. She kept making her mistakes were.
Yeah. She was so much more self-destructive, and this season, like season 1 felt like she was always on the cusp of growth, and then she would sabotage.
Yes.
Versus this season was actual growth.
Right. And it even started like, the first few episodes where it's very much like, oh, I'm going to get a dumb phone and I won't drink and I won't whatever. And it felt very like, oh, they're going to have her go really extreme and it's all going to fall apart. And they didn't do that. Like, I felt like this season was really interesting in that, like, I kept expecting it to repeat the general patterns of the first season, especially as far as Ava goes. And it really didn't. Like, it kept getting better and better and more fulfilling. And I think Deborah had more of the painful, awkward, I mean, like that gay cruise episode.
Yeah.
Oh, literally had to leave the room like with my hands over my eyes. Like, that was so painful. So yeah, I think that, season 2, I'm really impressed with how they built it. And I also, again, like, I think the way they're setting up for season 3, like, they keep shifting the paradigm of this show.
Right.
To the point where like leaving season 1, I had no idea how they were gonna, because you have that bombshell of like she sent that email and Deborah doesn't know, and so you kind of understand that there's going to be this like, you know, weight hanging over them, that like this truth that will be revealed and will like tear apart everything that happened. So I was like, you know, how are you going to sustain that in season 2? And they dealt with it really well. They kind of deal with it early on, and you see their relationship progress through it to the point where like Deborah not only like you know, gets over her anger at Ava, but actually takes the things that Ava wrote in that email to heart. Like she, you know, by the finale, she's coming back and saying like, you were right. That is absolutely who I am. Like I am a bully. And
but so also when she like withdrew the lawsuit, it was like a heartbreaking moment.
Right. Cause that was Ava looking forward to like seeing her again. Like they always had that connection at least. And I think that going into season 3, similarly, like this show has been built on these 2 women working together. So where are they going to go? Like now that they're not working together, like how do you do hacks? And I don't know that the show has definitely been picked up for season 3 yet, but it's pretty clear. Like if you watch the after the episode, like where they're doing the interview, like the creators are definitely trying to set up like if there's a season.
They have a plan.
Yeah.
I don't think it's been officially picked up, but hopefully it is.
I imagine it will be.
Yeah. I can't. Yeah. Why would you get rid of this show? But no, I mean,
I would kind of like to see Ava on her own for a couple of episodes anyway, in a writer's room.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that's part of it is that, and I think like overall the show, what it's saying about kind of Hollywood and especially women creatives is so interesting because you know it starts out and you know it's kind of the generational like what Deborah went through is not necessarily what Ava went through, and then kind of recognizing that they're both so similar. And so end of season 2 is Deborah kind of going like, you need to be on your own, you can't just be in my shadow. And that's a huge thing because there's, I think, women in Hollywood tended to have a very hard time, and there are kind of two schools of thought on that, and one of them is that like you kind of end up perpetuating that, you pay it forward. It's like, I went through hell to get to where I am, so you're gonna have to go through hell. Like they don't make it easier for the women coming up behind them.
Right.
It becomes like this rite of passage.
Right. And under the false pretense of like, oh, this will make you tough, and this will make you tough.
Yeah, and this is the reality, and I'm preparing you, and whatever. Or it's just this is the way it is. And I like the way that Hacks is sort of addressing that in a very contained way. Like it's not, you know, normally you're in a corporate structure or you're in a there are more people around. You're not literally just writing jokes for a single woman, but you kind of see Deborah, like her learning experience, like her growth. Like Ava's growth is very obvious, but you know Deborah's is kind of recognizing what she, you know, what it takes to work for her and what she wants for actually putting Ava first, like what she wants for Ava, and that it is tough love, but like you know, it is going to make her life harder, but it's that, you know, don't keep suffering under me. Like, just go shine, go do your thing now. Right. Like, don't waste this opportunity. So I really, really appreciate the show.
What did they suggest season 3 would be about? I didn't watch the behind the scenes thing.
Well, they just had a lot of, I mean, they're just the questions that they're setting up, which are essentially, you know, where does Ava go from here? Where does Deborah go? Like now that Deborah has gotten to this point, like what is her next step?
I don't see where Deborah goes. Yeah.
Well, you have a successful, you know, she's essentially just reinvented herself. Mm-hmm. So
yeah,
what if, you know, she's on top?
Yeah. And she doesn't have an anchor to Vegas. So there's like, she could go on the road now in support of her hour. She could go, you know, she could decide, oh, it's time to do the LA, you know, talk show or sitcom or whatever that she never got. Like there's a lot of that.
I mean, I feel like season 3 is going to be both of them flailing until essentially Deborah lands a late night talk show and Ava becomes her head writer. Like, to me, that's like
that makes sense.
Like overall arc for like you kind of complete her journey. But there's also the thing with Christopher McDonald's character and his marriage, and the fact that like, you know, Deborah, like he had proposed to Deborah, and like there was something real between them, as much as like both of them are very career oriented.
You think Deborah could replace James Corden since he's leaving?
I think a fucking sack of flour could replace James Corden. Oh my god.
Just a quick shout out to the agent who started the show as as like a Hollywood douchebag and ended as sort of a lovable douchebag.
And again, he's Paul Downs, right? So he's a creator.
Yeah.
He's one of the creators,
Right, yeah.
and he stars as Jimmy. And his character, I absolutely love him. He is the least believable part of that show. There is no agent manager who would give up his stable his
It's a very
job
Jerry Maguire thing. Yeah.
for an aging comedian. Like no. But I also love that, you know, they give Deborah that moment of like, you know, you almost think she's gonna go with Janet, with Ming-Na Wen's character.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like, but of course not. Like Jimmy literally left his job because he believed in her. She's not gonna abandon him. And she just wanted to make a big show of telling her. But what upsets me is that means, what if Ming-Na Wen doesn't show up next season? Because her character was amazing.
Oh, I'm sure if she wants, I mean, I hope that they find a little space to carve out for her, because she was so good.
She was so good. I'm also wondering if Ava ends up getting some success, if Janet poaches Ava. So
that would suck.
But I don't think so.
Jimmy also had his one hero moment when he lied about the dead guy.
So
Yeah, that was really good.
do you think that's the kind of thing? I mean, would that come back to bite them the next season? I feel like they've already moved past it, but I'm kind of like,
I don't think so. I feel like that's just like a moment of like, you know, him doing the thing,
right thing.
the wrong right thing that needed to be done.
Yeah.
The other thing that struck me was I kind of forget, even though his name is in the credits every week, that, you know, even though this show is very much feels like, you know, it's there's three creators. It's Jen Psaki, Lucia Aniello, and Paul Downs, and it feels like obviously, you know, very much their show. But Mike Schur is an executive producer on it.
Yeah.
And
I never noticed that.
it doesn't always feel that way, except weirdly in the finale, the season finale, I kind of like felt like, oh, all of a sudden some of these like almost wish fulfillment kind of happy ending things that are happening felt very much like his type of show.
Yeah.
Which I appreciated because it was nice.
As do I.
So
even though their breakup was brutal.
So basically what we're getting is that Dustin loves young queer women and hates elderly women.
And Asians.
Apparently Asian chefs.
Asian chefs, older women.
Dustin, you'd have a great home in the Hollywood of Hacks, or the Hollywood of Barry.
Oh, good transition.
Well, it's funny.
My racism to transition.
I had a different
Barry.
I had a different version of a transition there, and we're starting to run out of time. We've only got 20 minutes, 22 minutes, but it's interesting to me that Hacks presented like a very like it presents a lot of like the Hollywood stuff pretty well, whereas but in like a positive, like here's a way it could be kind of thing, right. Whereas Barry goes the opposite direction and is like, here's all the awful stuff. And I just want to say this as like one thing that does not bother me, but I feel like needs to be pointed out, is the Hollywood timeline of what is happening like on the TV side of Barry. So as far as like, you know, Sally's show, and then her, and then what happened this week where like she got hired on another show, and Darcy Carden now is like a showrunner. Like none of that makes any sense. It makes emotional sense. It does not make any like chronological.
Well,
or, like,
I always thought it was also sort of a satire on like like Banshee being this like the algorithm, like
totally.
the bullshit kind of production of it. Like they're kind of doing a satire on like how things get turned around and how absurd it is. But I mean, it's like, why is she leading a writer's room? Like she was
all
an
of this
assistant
happening
yesterday.
in like a week or like 4 days is not accurate.
It's not
anyway.
Accurate.
But Barry continues to go down a darker and darker path. Which is,
but not just like the Sally, her whole.
Oh man, that was crazy.
And I'm kind of like, is she at a point where she's actually going to seek? Is this going to be the twist in the finale? Like she actually starts seeking out. I mean, assuming Barry survives, is she going to seek out Barry to actually start exacting some of this like violent.
That's what I thought against Darcy Gardens. Yeah.
Right. Well,
that's how that's the only way you get them back together.
Yeah, what?
I was wondering if is she going to seek him out and ask him to use his special skills against her, or is it just that, like, I mean, I'm sure they'll cross paths again at some point, so maybe that's a natural way to do it, but it's also just like stunning to see how like, oh, she has just as much darkness in her as Barry does. It's just used in a different way, honed in a different way, and like aimed at different targets. But the reason why they worked is not that it's actually that they're much more similar than was ever presented to us.
Right.
And maybe Sally's like, oh, I understand Barry because I had my little explosion. Hader's got a weekly Ringer podcast where he talks about every episode, and it's pretty good. But it's funny because in that scene and the scene where he blows up at Sally, he's like, while they're filming it, he said it's so intense that we don't want to do, like, we did like 2 takes and then we're done because it's too much. So it's kind of funny to hear Hader talk about like the intensity of these scenes and not wanting to put any of the actors through that experience as much as they have to.
Yeah.
But also he often talks about how a lot of these like things that happen in the series are based on his life or like friends of his, like that writer's room. He said, he worked in a writer's room where it was like a really good writer's room, but then you got like this veteran who did a popular sitcom like 20 years ago, who's the head writer or whatever, who doesn't know anything.
Yeah.
That doesn't explain, Darcy Carden's thing, but it at least explains Sally's.
No, although the Darcy Carden thing is a fun satire in the other way, where like, and this at least feels true of like Netflix and a lot of streaming places, where like there are people who, their first script that they wrote ends up becoming a show, and all of a sudden they go from being, having very minimal experience to becoming a showrunner, and like overnight.
Right.
Right.
Like their
and
idea.
Obviously, yeah.
The Outer Range guy, the showrunner on that, his first show.
There you go.
Shocking.
Yeah. Hey.
It's only the I mean, if only he'd gotten to the mysterious whole business a little earlier, he could have been the first one out of the gate.
I know.
It's really sad.
But also, Bill Hader in every one of these podcasts is like, the next episode is going to be even more intense. And he said that this week. So somehow, next week's finale is going to be even more bleak than the one where he nearly dies and like the dad of the guy he killed shot himself in the car outside of the hospital.
Well, but of course it's going to be more bleak. Like he's still he's still poisoned. He's in the hospital. You've got now the detective's dad now like has figured out that Barry actually was the killer. The FBI guy that Barry had saved knows that Barry like has figured that out. Like the people who are actually a threat. And I think that's what's so interesting is this whole season, like people have been coming for him because of Fuchs. But like they all were incompetent, and you start off with like the mom and the son who like accidentally like this the son gets shot instead of going for Barry, and then there's the the dirt bikers who like it's this whole terrible shootout, but Barry escapes, and so like it's like everyone was incompetent. And then you get the poisoner who actually gets Barry but doesn't manage to kill him.
Right.
You've got the dad who wants to kill him but sees how pathetic Barry is and kills himself instead. But now you've got like the two genuine threats are on.
Now you have
Barry.
the guy who managed to convince his captor to kill himself. Yeah. When like by the way, the scene with him and Fuchs in the car, and with Fuchs just like trying to like rationalize through like how like it'll be okay for me, because like clearly that was a problem.
That was just a bad day. That was just like a certain day.
Yeah. And then the guy who again who Barry saved, who's an FBI agent and also has training clear, was obviously in the military, and so now the two worst possible people coming after him
like know the truth and like are on to him, and they just have to find him. So like that's a lot to deal with in that hour while Barry is poisoned.
Right.
So I don't.
Plus, NoHo Hank is somewhere in
Bolivia.
South America.
NoHo Hank
got himself shot with a blow dart.
I just also love that this show, like all the things that should be comedy, like aren't. Like it's not really a comedy, but then you have the NoHo Hank thing where he gets the blow dart, and he's like, "I thought you were gonna do that, but I wanted to like I didn't want to." The reaction as he's like sliding out of frame.
And you have, I mean, I appreciated that, like even like in the Jean story with I'm forgetting the character's name, but Laura San
Giacomo.
Yeah.
And how she just has like a tiny little runner where she's like, I haven't fucking done this in 20 years. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing as a director.
Yeah.
But it works out because it's ultimately relatively low stakes, and he does a good job. So.
Yeah. So Barry's still good.
Yeah. The irony, as a hater says, of the season is that the running theme of the season is like everybody's trying to find forgiveness, and yet it's still like the bleakest season yet.
Right. Well, but I think it's about finding, like, so it's that whole thing of like, what is forgiveness? Like it's not that it's meaningless, but it's like, it doesn't change what you've done. And it's something that someone can, either you're seeking it from other people. But even if they give it to you, it doesn't solve their pain or absolve you of your guilt, really. So like, what the hell does forgiveness mean? Mm-hmm. And when the stakes are, it's like you kind of get built up that like you need it to move forward, but it's like, with somebody like Barry, there is no like you've killed so many people. Like that scene on the beach where he's surrounded by everyone he's killed, and he's like awkwardly waving to the buddy he killed. Like it's hey, like it's I mean, forgiveness is hollow. Like it doesn't actually change anything. You just kind of you trick yourself into thinking it will. So what is forgiveness? I think it is very bleak, not because there's, it's a concept we think of as hopeful, but I think what's interesting about the season is it's showing how futile the pursuit of forgiveness actually is. Mm-hmm. And that's depressing. So sorry,
speaking of bleak, depressing shows.
Futility, actually, I think is
futility.
The
word. All of them.
Futility is perfect. Yeah.
Very briefly, We Own This City ended its 6-episode run. I mean, it's amazing how like I don't know. I feel like anything we say is going to be shallow compared to the depth of the show.
Did you see that coming with the Sean character? Oh my God, I had no idea that was coming.
I heard about it. So there's a documentary about him, about the real Sean Suiter on HBO, directed by the actress from The Wire.
Sonia
Sohn, yes. I was about to call her Kara Sohn. Yes, so she so I'd heard a little bit about him previous to it. And so I kind of was like, oh, that's coming up. And then I saw some of the reactions where it's like, you could see David Simon on Twitter kind of like knowing that was coming because like immediately like lawyers for the family, like different people were kind of coming at him. Because the whole thing is that like the investigation showed that like, yeah, likely that Suter killed himself, but made it look like an on-duty shooting. But the family and other people are like really holding firm that like, no, he never would have done that. That is absolutely not what happened. So the way they shot the episode is kind of like, there's a lot you can, they're doing a lot of kind of leading you to see him kind of calculating through it. But they, when he runs into that alley, you hear the shots, you don't see it happen. So they leave enough of a leeway where it's like, they're not saying definitively that he killed himself.
Right.
But yeah, people were not happy, and David Simon's like, yeah, I knew that was going to happen.
Yeah, and like, there was a George Pelecanos who also created and ran the show with David Simon. I heard him in an interview talking about how they definitely stuck to what they could prove and what they knew to be true, and so that's why it's clear that they believe he did it,
right?
That he shot himself, but yeah, they don't show it because nobody knows.
Nobody knows. For sure. Yeah. So I thought they did a good job with that too. Like just like how they managed to frame it, like leave it open-ended enough, like give you leeway to believe whatever you want to believe. And like, that's
right. And it felt, I mean, I didn't know what was coming because I mean, I had kind of, I feel like I had heard about these arrests when they happened, but didn't really like, it's like, maybe I saw a headline at the most and like, forgot about it. And so I resolved not to read up on it just because I kind of, and then I read up on it immediately after, but they do such a good job of building that sense of dread around Sean Suter that you kind of know it's coming.
Yeah.
Even though you hope it isn't.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, his character was just, I mean, that was just, because he's the one cop you actually feel for.
Right.
And from the very beginning. And so like, like as it gets harder and harder, and you see the decisions he makes and like he's trying to do his best in a really difficult system. And then like you get to that episode and you're like,
yeah,
that was hard.
The other thing that really kind of floored me was that this show was so throughout the show it's very watchable and very like well constructed as a show and as a piece of like filmed entertainment, but also because it's based on true real people, it kind of like toes the line between like it's not documentary, it's not even like as like pseudo documentary like The Wire,
right?
Like it's definitely more like a filmed piece of entertainment, but because it feels so real, the last thing we get with Wayne Jenkins felt so shocking, where we get this moment where he's giving a speech and it's like everyone he's like corrupted basically.
Yeah, applauding him and like, woo, yeah. Well, but then you also see him in the prison yard. Right.
And it's, I don't know, like it was just a really cool moment that I wasn't expecting.
Yeah.
Because that felt very, it didn't feel like the kind of thing that like people like David Simon and George Pelecanos would do. But,
right. It's more of a creative flourish than like a realism. It was specifically not realistic, which was like made it all the more kind of jarring.
But it like sort of illustrates like the point, like all the bad guys are put away, but then there's just another generation of bad guys to take their place.
Yeah.
God, Baltimore that city must be so fucked.
Oh my God. Well, and that was like the biggest gut punch of the episode. I mean, the Suter thing, obviously, but the end where they're just doing the title cards over like, this is what happened to the mayor, this is what happened to the next police commissioner. The next commissioner. The next commissioner, like out 4 months later. I mean, just, and so like it kind of feels like I mean, obviously there is no answer, but in the fact that this, I feel like we're used to seeing these stories where it's like, oh, this was a 20 years ago or something, like it's a period from the past. But the fact that this, essentially like the most current things that are happening take place in 2017. Like that's not that long ago. It's in Trump's era. Like that's what made it so powerful, is that it's like, no, these inescapable problems that no one has solved, like, do the math, like they still aren't solved. Right. Like it hasn't been enough time, like no one's figured it out. So
good show. People who love The Wire should watch this show, and David Simon should do another show in Baltimore at some point. Wait 10 years, because we can only handle one of these every 10 or 15 years.
Well, we should move on to something slightly cheerier. Like, we've got about 5 minutes, a little over 5 minutes left. So what about The Boys, which returns to Amazon Prime?
Oh.
That urethra scene.
Wait, no, I mean...
let's just talk about that. We've only got 5 minutes. Yeah. Let's talk about dicks.
Yeah. No, I showed it to my son, because I was like, dude, do you want to see the most disgusting scene in superhero history? And he was like, yeah, I want to see that.
So did we just lose Dustin?
We did, but he's coming back.
Oh, yeah. So
what did you do?
I don't know.
We're wasting time. Keep going about the urethra scene.
No, so my husband, I had been trying to catch up, so I watched the first 2 episodes that were available on my own, and then we were going to watch the 3rd episode over dinner. So he's like, okay, so catch me up. And I'm like filling him in on the plot, and I'm like, oh my God. And also this dude jumped in a guy's urethra and then like sneezed and exploded. And he's just like, why are you telling me this? I'm like, it's really important. It has no bearing on the plot, but it's like the most important thing that happened.
That definitely felt like, so it's very gross.
Yes.
As you would imagine. I watched it and felt kind of an emptiness, where I was like, this is, now you were just trying, like, everyone remembers the whale from season 2. And
the laser baby.
And what?
Laser baby from season 1.
And laser baby. And you have decided that you have to top it in the first 5 minutes.
Okay.
And that's fine.
No. But I will say it's more than that, because I think it was a direct reaction. I almost want to credit Redmond with this, because it is everyone joking about Endgame and how if Ant-Man had just flown up Thanos's butt, the whole thing would have been done. And so to me, it wasn't just empty.
Callback.
Yeah.
All right. That's, I didn't remember that, so that's fair. But
yeah.
I did still enjoy the show ultimately. The first couple minutes definitely made me cynical about, like, all right, now you're just being
gross for the sake of being gross.
Well, but I also think there is something. So, have you guys read the comics?
No.
So, and I'm not, this is not a defense, but whenever if you're adapting something like The Boys is taking a lot of inspiration from the comics, but the plot kind of no longer follows it. So I think that those moments of just over the top absurd and truly absurd gore, like that is one of those connective tissues to the comics. Like that's the inspiration, because that is a lot of what the comics were it's just like fucking disgust, like really.
Yeah, and to be fair, I really love Garth Ennis.
Yeah,
so it's not.
And so it's that, and so like
that's one of his things.
To me, that feels like more of an homage than just like, oh, we're doing this for the viewers. It's like we're kind of doing this just to remind ourselves like of the source material, because that was what it always was. As they go further and further afield in the plot.
But when that woman half exploded that guy's head, that was even grosser, to be fair. I mean, that was really fucked up. When the head exploding woman...
It was gurgly.
And he was like...
seen a tongue. That was just Demon Knight. I've seen that.
Oh, that was fucked up.
That's fine.
Yeah, that was...
He
that
was
was
like...
not, that was
his
not
jaw is moving.
Yeah, I mean...
He was still alive.
And the tongue and the blood.
Yeah.
I don't know if you'd say he was alive. There was still blood spurting.
I mean, to be fair, when the dude's dick exploded and he was like on the bed and his guts were hanging out, his eyes blinked. He was still alive.
Oh, okay, fair.
Weirdly, the one that shocked me the most was the theme park one where they blow up the theme park Homelander. Like for some reason that was the most disturbing one to me because it's like there's just some guy making $10 an hour in a suit, and then the whole thing explodes, and you still get to see the half head of the suit and the half head of the guy.
Yeah.
These first 3 episodes, not enough Jensen.
Not enough Jensen.
Yeah.
Although I do like how they're making him a total dirtbag, and I knew he was going to be a dirtbag, but like, wow, what a dirtbag! But like, it's all in the past, so I'm kind of like, oh, he's alive.
Yes, because Rocky got attracted to him over the course of the season, so he's going to play a bigger role.
I know.
I want to see more of him.
Okay. I don't. Oh, God, the pressure.
Is there anything else to say?
45 seconds.
Okay, so I'm curious about the fact that there's nothing I guess really that important. I think I'm a little worried. So is Starlight? I feel like Starlight and Huey is gonna. Are they gonna break up again? I'm sick of them being on and off, but I feel like they're going on the off thing, and
that's fine.
I don't know. Whatever. I'm just
Starlight should hook up with the boy band guy anyway.
Yeah.
I just want to say that Karen Fukuhara is amazing, even though she is not given anything to say.
But when she got the song,
and
it was a motif for the whole episode. I love that. Yeah.
Goodbye, everybody. It's over.
More Jensen.
We are out of time. Have a good night. That's it, right?
Yeah.
I think that's it.
We got it all. It's contractually obligated to be it.
Right.
All right. We'll be back next week. Probably all of us, which is good stuff.
Unless Dustin abandons us
Any last
again.
thoughts?
More Jensen.
More Jensen?
Yeah, I'm with Tori on this one. Yeah.
Dustin hates Australians.
I don't...
And old people.
You know where the hole goes if you dig it? Australia.
I mean, you know where the hole goes.
Yeah.
Dustin's hole goes straight to Australia. Have a good night.
Good night, everybody.